Disclaimer. All statements within this podcast consist of our own opinions and in no way should be taken as medical advice, as we are not medical professionals. All resources will be stated. We always encourage you to do your own research and to consult your own doctor or medical professional before attempting anything. Welcome back to Random Witchcraft with your hosts, Vix
and Callie. Word up, people.
Well, this week's episode is a fun little episode of one of our favorite things, our altars.
True. It is one of my favorite things.
It's always fun to play with and
design and make it yours.
Very much so. There are definitely many, many, many different types of altars you could have.
Yes. And also, depending on your type of, what you're practicing in.
Yeah, we tend to be a little bit more eclectic and random and a little chaotic.
Chaos. It's the life giver.
Yeah,
or
there's
life ender, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah, there's definitely many different types of altars that you could have, whether it be inside or outside. Outside being like in the garden.
Well, it also depends, because some garden witches end up having a housing,
Yeah.
that's still outside, but they have all of their plants and, a nice greenhouse.
Yeah. And then you can have like the kitchen, like with the kitchen witches.
Guilty as charged.
Where you can mix up some little oils and potions and fun things like that.
Mix up the oils with the little, rosemary and some, bay leaf. Get those oils in there, then fry up your chicken and...
Yeah. Some of the best magic is the food you're making.
Exactly. Then there is also your shrine to your deities and your working altar. Your working altar is where, you would set things that need time to manifest.
Yeah, and then you also have like an ancestor altar.
Ancestors' altars are very picky. Your ancestors will tell you what they want and what they don't want on there. Just don't put it in your bedroom.
Yeah, they will tend to try to get your attention in the least beneficial ways.
Your granny don't need to be seen. You do what you do.
There are certain times you don't want your ancestors to be literally sitting by your bed.
Judging you.
Yeah, like we stated, like it could be like a working altar, or it could be more of like a shrine. Like a shrine for your deities or ancestors. Or it could be where you mix up your potions and your puppets and
or even like just starting for your DIY projects for anything that you may need.
Yeah. You could be making a puppet.
That's going to be fun when we actually end up getting into that episode of DIY projects.
And then you have like very structured ones, like some of the Wiccan altars.
Yes.
And Gardenarian. I hope I said that right, because I am not sure. And that is also a very difficult word to say.
Gardenarian?
Is that correct?
Yes.
I really don't know. And then you also have, by technicality, you have your divination altar.
Very true.
Not everybody would
agree.
agree or think that the place where you do all of your divination is technically an altar also.
But most people end up integrating their divination altar with their working altar.
True, because it is doing work.
Yes, it is. But sometimes your divination tools do not like being around certain stones that you may put on your working altar.
Yeah. Bonfire.
Yeah. Another thing, some things most people will tell you, oh, you need to have this to make it an altar. Make it your thing.
Yeah. Don't trust anybody who's telling you how to do something for you that's supposed to be personal. And
I wouldn't say don't trust. I would say take the advice and be like, I hear where you're coming from. Just do what feels natural to you. You have to make your altar you. Like the difference between my altar and Vix's altar. Vix's altar is centered on how Vix's mind works. My altar, very chaotic. Very much so. If it calls me to put it on there, I'll put it on there. Like my latest little addition has been a little crystal rose.
That's always fun. Yes, there is a very fine line between gatekeeping and actually trying to teach you something. Intentions of some people, whether they be trying to teach you something, but coming off very gatekeepy, is not a good thing. And then your altar could be a shelf, it could be a side table, it could be whatever you want it to be. It could be very
Some
earthy.
people don't even have the luxury of having their altar out 24/7. Whether it could be very religious parents, very much so a religious roommate, whatever, but they make it and put it in a small, wooden box or something that's just personal to them, or they can just have it as a small votive candle.
Or it could just be a picture and some flowers or plants on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very inconspicuous. Not everything is like TikTok and Witch Talk. Not everything's so pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be yours.
It has to be functional for you and the way that you think and the way that you practice your craft.
Yeah, like some of the tools that you could decide to have on your altar, which is not an exhaustive list, but it's also not a short list that we put together.
Very true. Like some of them are just candles, candle holders. We have incense burners, because sometimes, you just have to be safe.
Athame, a sword, a spear. Depending on...
Like my cousin, her athame or her form of just is a spork.
If that's what works for her.
And it does. I was like, I was about to, by honest mistake, I was cleaning up her room and I was about to pick that up and I was like, she's like, don't throw in my athame. And I was like, spork? Okay.
Well, you also have like a universal thing with a lot of people is a pentacle.
Yes.
Which pentacle and pentagram, if you're not aware, are
Two different things.
They're two different things. The pentagram is literally just the star. Some of them have the circle around it.
Others don't.
Others don't. And a pentacle is an actual object. Whether it be wood, metal, wax.
Or it could be very ornate, like I've seen some people have, where it's like, you have, I've seen recently one that had sand for the earth. They had like clear resin for air, colored blue resin for water, and colored red resin for fire. And spirit, they made it this beautiful glowing resin.
Mm-hmm. Definitely works. Then you have like, if you choose to have like representations of the elements or your deities.
Very true. You can also end up having, cups, chalices, bowls.
Which are pretty much, they could be the vessels for offerings, or they could be the representations of the elements
themselves. We all, like, me and Vix, we went a little crazy, and we went foraging one day, and we ended up at the beach with Ziploc baggies full of stones.
I definitely apologize for the puppers that are deciding they want to bark right outside the window.
They just want to be heard.
Yeah, they're probably playing. They're just puppies. Well, you could also have, like, your herbs and teas.
Very true.
And if so inclined, coffee.
You mean life water?
Yeah.
You have bells.
And crystals. Bells.
Mortar and pestle, and for my Spanish-speaking people, a molcajete.
Mirrors, whether they be just more mundane mirrors that you feel called to use, or black mirrors that you can buy or
make yourself,
which I made mine out of an old picture frame. You have like feathers and flowers, plants. You can have your like divination tools, whether they be like a scrying mirror or
a scrying bowl.
Pendulum. Your tarot cards, oracle cards. Hell, it could be playing cards. Those can be used.
Yes, they can.
And Callie's probably going to disregard and say something about this one, but I've seen some of the Hispanic practitioners use the bingo cards.
Now, with the Loteria cards, mind you, they already hold a very odd superstition about them. So, yes, there are some people that do use them, depending on how you were taught, what, your ancestors ended up passing down to you. I was taught to, it's only a fun game. They're not really used like regular other playing cards. Because with those, if, crazy superstition, you play after midnight loteria, and you're going to end up inviting the devil to play, and he's going to make you a bet for your soul.
Which actually seems very interesting. That'd be a fun game. Very dramatic.
Sure, why don't we end up, getting on Twitch? We'll play after midnight. See what happens.
We also have a spirit board. But I digress.
Well, actually, that's another thing that you could end up having on your altar is a spirit board. Some people call them spirit boards, Ouija boards, angel boards. Just depending on what you practice.
It could be the Milton Bradley. It could be one you made yourself. There's many options for spirit boards. And other things that could be on there is an altar cloth.
Very true.
If you're literally packing everything away and hiding it, that's a good way to designate that area for spell work or ritual work.
Yeah.
And different colors could have different meanings. Color magic is definitely a thing.
Yes, color magic is definitely a thing.
You also
I do a lot of color magic because when I knit and crochet. And
you also have like ropes and cords, which
yes,
I know are a thing within like Wiccan practice and like ritual magic.
Hand fasting. You have to have the right cords.
And a couple warnings. If you're using real fire, never leave the fire unattended. Whether it be incense, candles, anything that is burning. And always have a way of putting the fire out. Just in case it does decide that it wants to get out of the fire safe container.
You see, you just can't contain the magical essence of flame. It'll do what it wants.
Yeah, it's like trying to control air.
Yeah.
Not always the easiest thing to do. You can try to command it. It's like water. It can come back. And like your altar, it doesn't have to be picture perfect. It could be a jumbled mess if that's the way you feel that it should be. It doesn't have to look like all the pictures on Witch
like
Talk.
Vix. I mean,
hey, everything has its place. But that's just me.
Yeah, I know. You sometimes try fixing my altar.
I feel like some things need to be an inch over.
And if I did that to yours?
When you were looking, I would put it back. Also, never mess with another person's altar.
Unless you have full permission from the other person.
And I would only move things on the altar. I could be adding things, but I tend to try not to move things. Most of the time.
Yeah. I'm just giving him a look like, Be honest with the people.
And in all actuality, with things you put on your altar, they don't have to be the most expensive things.
No.
You don't have to spend all this money to buy any of it. It could just be things you found. Hell, if you feel that you need a Pokemon on your altar,
go right ahead.
It represents something to you. You go right ahead and put that on there for you.
Yes, but don't have, if you have your altar out and about and you have something that, let's say like that, you have nieces or nephews or just simple your friends' kids. That's why I don't have my Stitch on my altar no more.
Yeah. on that note, I did see I think it was a meme or a picture of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Someone took a picture of a Catholic altar, mind you, with a little figure of Luke Skywalker, because the woman thought it was Jesus.
Well, we've already talked about it once. You know, there's a whole religion to Star Wars.
That is true.
You know, they my respects to them. I do not want them to come force choke a bee.
And if you feel so inclined, you can actually DIY anything you want. We are witches. We can do anything. We get our hands dirty. We stick our hands in the dirt. We collect random things.
How else are we going to get the graveyard dirt then?
Exactly. Or those animal bones.
With respect to the animals.
Always with respect.
Always with respect.
And
if you're going to go to the graveyard, ask your ancestors if you can take some of the dirt around their grave. Do not be disrespectful in going and digging up several, baggies worth of graveyard dirt. Please do not do that.
We are both fully aware that this can be a trigger. And
yes.
A very kind of taboo to certain people, like animal bones. If you don't feel that those types of things
apply to you,
there are always different correspondences and substitutions you can use for everything.
Again, we state and we reinforce the fact this is your craft. It is tailored to you. The gods and goddesses, the deities, they work with you. It's all about how you feel. And you grow within this magical journey that you're taking.
And there is a difference between being a devotee to a deity and working with a deity.
Yes.
And always remember, that deity is not working for you. You can get very hard lessons when you're trying to make a deity do your bidding. Usually doesn't work out in your favor.
No, you get a nice swift kick in the tuchus on that one.
Oh, and back to the taboo type of things. If you're going to use items that are or can be hazardous, like animal bones, do your research and learn how to work with them and clean them safely. Whether bones, collecting poisonous plants, minerals, stones, crystals. Speaking of minerals, sulfur. Sulfur/brimstone. When those are burned, they do create a very toxic gas.
Very true.
And there are also some stones that you cannot put in water because, for one, they'll dissolve, like selenite. Selenite will dissolve in water and is
good to make if you're going to make, a good, cleansing spray.
Yeah, but cannot be ingested.
No.
Because
no, do not put selenite, moonstone in your moon water.
There are certain stones that if you put them in water, they release a toxic chemical that can actually make you very sick. I believe tiger's eye is one of them.
Obsidian is another.
Obsidian, I believe hematite. And, of course, there are metals that can rust.
Very true.
Some metals do rust. But yet, like, copper is...
fine and dandy.
You could put that in water and actually it helps disinfect the water.
Yep.
Like, with reptile keeping, a lot of them will put pennies in the bottom of the water dish because it actually impedes
Algae
and growth of things.
Yeah, I used to do it with my fish tank.
Yeah. Let's see, with altars, it is your magic. You can do whatever you want.
It's your magic, your craft. You do what you want. We always encourage you to do your research. Get out there.
Research.
Learn everything that you can. We implore you to do your research. Be safe. And most of all, enjoy your journey. Enjoy it to the fullest. Because you'll end up discovering a much stronger person in the end.
And when it comes to, like, different books, if you can't have a physical book where you live, there are other options, including, like, audiobooks and digital versions of the books.
And I'm gonna end up putting this out there. There are a lot of sites. If you cannot pay for the digital book, there are a lot of sites. A lot of people end up uploading a lot of books to Now Script is one of the sites where you can find practically any book. You can't download the book to make a paper copy of it, but you can read it on the site. You'll just have to log in to be a member.
Does that cost anything?
No, it's actually free.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Something I didn't even know.
How do you think I ended up reading a lot of books?
Yeah, we do have a collection of books, both digital and physical.
Yes.
Actually, I found another one today that it didn't cost me anything, so I got it. Amazon. Not always the most ethical, but sometimes it is a necessary evil.
Again, we end up having to do what we can and how we can.
Yeah, we do what we do when we can. Which may or may not make sense.
In some strange way it does, but again, reiterating the whole entire thing is your altar is you. Think of the altar as, what would I like to see on there that would please me, my craft, and make it to where it's just something that flows for you. Something that fits your aesthetic as well.
The altar is a tool of your magic. Whichever way you feel that it is an extension of yourself.
It is just a physical representation of your magic. That is what an altar is.
That too. Better way of saying it. Is there any last words you would like to add before we wrap this up for the day?
Just remember, enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself in this journey. And find your joy.
Yeah. Do what feels right. And always trust your intuition.
Always.
Till next time. With
Au
Random
revoir.
Witchcraft. Bye. Hey, just one last thing before we sign off for the day. If you would like to reach out to us, you can email us at randomwitchcraft@gmail.com. And now you can send us voice messages through Anchor. If you would like to support this podcast for future podcasts and also other future endeavors, click the links below. That is completely optional and greatly appreciated. Thank you.